It's Social Pulse Weekly, brought to you by Agorapulse. Discussing this week's hottest topics and latest developments in social media marketing. With your host, Jennifer Watson. Here's Social Pulse Weekly.
Hey everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Social Pulse Weekly. Now, I am super excited because we were actually, I think, maybe close to a minute late because we're having such a great conversation behind the scenes, but I'm excited to have one of my dear friends and ambassadors of Agorapulse live with us today to geek out just about everything because he's brilliant. He's a speaker, he's an author, he's a consultant, he's a trial lawyer, he's everything and then some. I literally had to pull myself back from wanting to ask him a million questions, but it's an opportunity for you to ask him questions too. But before that, I just want to say welcome everyone in. I see Justin Hornback already saying, I can't believe it's already Friday. I can't believe it's Friday either. And I can't believe we're almost at the end of Q1 of 2021. It's been over a year now since many of us have been dealing with the pandemic and all the changes. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. Things are getting better. And one of the interesting things is we had this guest on last year in March and also in May talking about different things for the pandemic. We're bringing him back on again to re-ask some of the same questions, a few different ones as things start to reopen back up. But we're also going to geek out about Clubhouse and everything else. So with that said, I'm going to bring up our amazing guest really quick. It's Mitch Jackson, if you don't know who he is. And Mitch, we met, I think, almost 2 years ago at Social Media Day San Diego.
Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. It's good to be here, Jennifer. It's always good to see your smiling face. It's always great to be a part of anything that Agorapulse is doing. And I'm excited about today. Q&A, bring your questions. Let's get everybody ready for the rest of 2021.
Yes. Oh my gosh, exactly. Now, before we get to the questions, Mitch, I want to geek out about how amazing you are. So I get to pull you full screen right now because I'm in control. And yeah, so this
you already introduced me though, Jennifer.
This is
true. I get embarrassed.
Oh my God. No, let's talk a little bit more though. Mitch Jackson enjoys combining law, social media, and technology to disrupt, hack, and improve his clients, companies, causes, and professional relationships. Because of the results he consistently gets for his clients, Mitch has been named a 2009 Orange County Trial Lawyer of the Year and 2013 California Litigation Lawyer of the Year. Stay connected with Mitch at his social and video blog, livevideo.lawyer. So that was short and sweet, but I had to get that in, Mitch, because people need to know how awesome, how brilliant, and how amazing you are. And I have to also give a quick shout out to Justin Hornback, who's in the audience today. Can't believe it's Friday. I know many of us can't believe it's Friday. It's been a very busy week as many of us get ready for Q2. But for those that are joining us, I just want to send a friendly reminder to let you know that this is a two-way conversation. So don't just think that you're a fly on the wall watching this conversation that Mitch and I are having. I want you to ask questions. If you have questions to ask them in the comments. I'll pull them on screen because that's what Mitch is here for. He's brilliant. I have my whole set of questions already lined up, but you know what? If we pull the conversation in a different direction and everyone's enthralled and, learning and ready to go, we'll go in that direction. I want this to be a show for you. And so for those that are watching, please let us know who you are, where you're watching us from, and something that you completed in Q1, a big task that you made happen so far this year. I want to know it, and we want to give you props, give you an applause. So let us know that in the comments. And let's get started, Mitch. Let's have some fun. And first of all, I just want to hear a little bit more about you, how you got to where you are today in social media and everything else, because I don't think I've met a lawyer that's so involved with his community, with helping others on social media. It's really amazing. And I love just who you are as a person as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. You know, it's interesting. I noticed down in the comments that Livestream Labs met my son Garrett down at Social Media Day San Diego. I love bringing my family to these events, Jennifer, because meeting people online and then connecting and building relationships and taking them offline, for me, is what all about being a human being is all about. I mean, I just love this. And practicing law, starting my practice, it's now 35 years ago. Out of the back of my car in Laguna Beach, California, playing basketball down on the sand, running the court. That's where I did my early networking. If you could hit a good jump shot, I'd represent you in exchange for you buying me lunch. This is how we rolled back in the day. Fast forward to today, you know, what I found is social media and building relationships and engaging. It's like running the court down at Main Beach in 1985, 1986. We're connecting, we're building rapport with people who share the same likes and interests and hobbies and passions. And for me, once social media rolled around and all the different platforms started to roll out, they started to get super simple to use, you know, especially when you're looking at platforms like Agora Pulse. Click a couple of buttons, you queue, you schedule, your content goes out. What I noticed is that we started getting more and more referrals to our law firm. So I've never been accused of being the sharpest knife in the drawer, but what I realized is that by building out, you know, my brand on social media, by being that lawyer that helps and helps and helps and helps and then helps some more before I ever ask for anything, it has resulted in new business coming into our Southern California law firm. Even more important, it's resulted in some amazing relationships that we formed, you know, not only here in California, but across the country and across the world. And it's made the practice of law for me enjoyable again. I really enjoy rolling out of bed every single morning and helping people, many who are in our audience today, with getting their legal questions answered. At the same time, helping entrepreneurs build out their businesses in this new online business environment. And hopefully at the end of today's show, sharing answers to 6, 7, or 8 important questions to help people position themselves to do business safely in this crazy upside down COVID-19 world, so that they're safe, they're protecting their business assets, their personal assets, and adding massive value to their clients and customers. So that's the short story to who I am and why I'm on digital. And it's good to be here.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, I love that. And we have a great comment here from Jump Shots to Powerhouse Lawyer. Like, you're pretty amazing, just so you know. Also, same person said, love me some Mitch. And I believe this is Nicole. And keep in mind, we are using StreamYard. And so make sure to give Facebook permission so we can see who you are. But this is Nicole, Public School District. Big Q1 win was purchasing and launching Agora Pulse. So I love that. Nicole, thank you for the amazing shout out. I love that you're with the Agora Pulse family, and we're all about helping people and providing extra value too, which is why we have these live shows, because, you know, we do them for free and they're for anyone, whether you use Agora Pulse or not, because we want to help educate and help you launch your business to success and beyond. So that's why we brought on Mitch, because Mitch is brilliant, so amazing. And we also have Scott Ayers in the house, who is from Livestream Labs. So Scott, you rock. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to hear about the rest of the 3-hour meeting. I was actually in a 3-hour meeting earlier and had to leave to get ready for the live show. But with that said, Mitch, so we had an epic panel conversation just literally about a year ago. I think that year anniversary was 2 weeks ago, to be exact. Then we had you on last May talking about how we're moving into these virtual event spaces and how to protect yourself as a speaker and as an event planner. So it's been a year. We're almost to April in 2021. I would love to know, you personally, what was the number one thing that you learned this year? And also, what was the biggest thing that people kept asking you for advice on over this past year as well?
So it seems to me that everything we talked about in our earlier episodes was spot on. I mean, unfortunately, a year later, we're still dealing with a lot of the same challenges. And I think what I've heard, what I've learned, client issues, helping brands build out their presence on the digital platforms. I think what we're all realizing is that need for human to human engagement, relationships. It's now more important than ever. Understanding, sharing empathy, connecting with other people, respecting the time and intention of your audience. everybody's on social and digital right now. Everybody's on Zoom, everybody's on StreamYard. And so you have to understand that when you are building out your products and services, when you're trying to communicate, you've got to respect the time and attention of your audience. For all the lawyers and professionals out there, you got to double down on empathy this year. Whether you're trying cases, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a physician treating people, we're all going through a lot of things. And oftentimes we have no idea, unless we walk in somebody else's shoes, what they're dealing with. They may seem happy on social media. They may be interested in buying your products and services, but in reality, they can't. They're not healthy, or their business has been shut down. They want to stay in contact with you. And when things turn around, they're going to want to reach out and bring you into their business model. But until that happens, what we need to do, I think, as leaders in the community, is we need to lead with empathy. We need to lead with kindness. We need to add more value each and every day when building out our brands. And I think if we do that, the community will be stronger. I think the both online and offline. And I also think you'll be building your business in a way so that through your transparent communications, through your from the heart messages, people will understand that you were there for them in the rough times, and we're still in rough times, and you'll be there for them in the good times. So for people that I'm helping start their businesses, we have a lot of clients, Jennifer, believe it or not, that have started their businesses over the last year in this COVID-19 world. And what I tell them is some of the most successful businesses that we've ever been a part of or associated with, or I've read about, started in difficult times. It's never been more important to be proactive. It's never been more important than to take advantage of the new opportunities, especially with cloud-based services, especially with taking your traditional offline business online. And this is the time to do that. If you're proactive and if you go out of your way to create an exemplary client experience, go out of your way to make sure that your client or customer's needs are met right now, people will remember that, people will be thankful for that, and people will have your back moving forward in 2021.
Oh my gosh, I love everything you said, Mitch. And I think you answered my next question as well. But empathy is such a big player in this. And also when it comes to opportunity. And so we talked on a show, I think it was back in November, and he was actually one of the co-founders of Square. And he said basically what you had just mentioned as well. During a time of chaos, right? The entire world is going through this. It's not just a town, a city, a country. The entire world has been disrupted. And when people's routines, daily lives are disrupted, they're more likely to try something new. When things are going great, they're like, okay, my routine's good. Why would I, try this or try that? So it's a great opportunity for people to try a new business, start that side hustle, whatever it is, because right now people are like, okay, maybe let's try something different because my whole life has been disrupted. So let's see what's out there. So I love what you said, Mitch, because this is a great time of opportunity. It may be hard to see for some, but it really is. So I love all of that. And so many great people in the comments. We've got Brian Fanzo right here, who's actually across on the other side of the house. Actually, I'm at Brian Fanzo's right now. We're in Virginia.
Well, I'm glad you're here and he's there. It's good to see you, Brian.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, I love you so much. Justin Horbeck said, from the heart messages, yes, yes, and yes. Brian Kramer, oh my God, I'm honored that you're here, Brian. I hope you're still watching. Human to human interaction, yes, this is what you preach all the time. Brian, I'm so excited you decided to join us. Thank you for being here. We've got Brad Friedman, who is a big fan. Great to see you, Mitch. And we've got Keith Ronan as well. Looking forward to this show. I work with a few attorneys. So if any of you have questions in regard to liability, now keep in mind, we're not going to actually give legal advice on the show, but Mitch is going to point you in the right directions on what you need to be looking at when it comes to any kind of speaker contracts or anything else. Because when it comes to legal advice, it's down to the county, I think, right, Mitch? Like there's, the states, everything. So, but we will kind of point you in that right direction.
Yeah, we can have a conversation and get people going in the right direction. And it's interesting. This is an opportunity to really look at the agreements, the written contracts that you're using. You're going to want to continue to tweak and improve many of the clauses in these agreements. So we can talk about that. I was chatting with Brian Kramer earlier today. They have a Friday Clubhouse consulting room, which I really enjoy. And so Brian and I were just chatting, and I let him know that I was going to be on with you. He's going to bring his audience over to today's live video. So Brian, thank you for doing that. Brad, it's good to see you. Keith, good to see you also. And Scott, my son, asked, who is that guy with the orange hair? Who's that guy with the orange hair, Dad? Is that real? And I had to tell Garrett, I don't think it's real, son, but it's great branding, right? So yeah, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to protecting ourselves in moving forward and doing business, and everything's on the table, you guys. If anybody can stump me, I'll give you a free copy of my book. Okay, that's how confident I am of bringing value today. You're not going to be able to stump Mitch.
Oh my God, Mitch. All right. So guys, the goal is to stump Mitch. I don't know if you can do this though. That's going to be a very hard task. Shout out to Brian, who's still here watching. And Brian, thank you so much. So Brian has actually pinged me into his Clubhouse rooms, and I can never go because I had a 3-hour meeting before this, but I'm prepping for the live show. But Brian, I will make sure that I join your Clubhouse. We'll figure out a time to do that. We already have a great question from Nicole. So this is awesome. Nicole, I'm so glad you're here. What type of insurance should a marketing agency carry? So that's a great question.
It is a good question. It's a great question. And so Nicole, here's the thing. First of all, do you have an insurance agent? Do you have someone that you're already purchasing insurance from, maybe for your home, condo, automobile, whatever it might be? Reach out to them and explain to them what type of business you have set up. Are you offsite in a traditional, business setting in a building like my law firm? Are you working from home right now? Do you have a home-based business? So depending on what type of business location you're using, what type of business you are running, there are all types of different liability coverages available. There are coverages that you can add on to your homeowner's policy to provide liability umbrella coverage when it comes to business liability, when it comes to errors and omission. Corporate officers in a corporation have liability policies that are available to them. If you're a smaller company working out of your home, then you won't be paying as much, which is a good thing, as you might if you're a large corporation, with dozens of employees. So what you want to look at is some type of liability coverage that will protect you in case any claims are brought against you. That's number one. And also in case there are any online actions, claims, or lawsuits that are brought against you because of your online digital social media products and services efforts, right? Distributing them, marketing and branding them. Have detailed conversations with your adjuster. They'll share what plans are available, and absolutely look at being covered, because before social media, before the internet, the average business owner was sued 3 times during his or her business career. I have a feeling from what I've seen with social media, because it's easier to set up a business today. You can set up a business in 10 minutes, right? Using a couple of free websites and you're good to go. I think that number is going to double or triple over the next 10 to 20 years. That doesn't mean the claims are legitimate. That doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. All it takes is a piece of paper, a filing fee, and anybody can file an action. So having said that, make sure you've got insurance coverage to cover all of the different contingencies, whether it's personal liability, corporate liability, business liability. That's where I would start. If you have employees and you send them out to get sandwiches and God forbid somebody runs a red light, then that's a different type of liability that covers somebody while they're driving. So every single instance has a different type of liability coverage, and some type of blanket liability coverage is what you want to ask your claims, your insurance adjuster about.
Wow.
Great question.
Mitch, oh my God, I love you explaining everything, and it is a great question. I can't believe 3 times. Brian Kramer said 3 times. And the fact that that's going to, like, what you say, triple, quadruple, I mean,
look, here's the thing, Jennifer. It was you and I, we were talking before we went online today, and it's part of our conversation today about, it's very easy for anyone to go online and portray themselves as being someone that they're not, or as offering a particular service that actually doesn't do what they said it's going to do. And so you got to be careful. And what I do see happening is, because it's so easy, I see the frequency of claims and litigation probably going up. I hope that's not the case, but I'm simply answering the questions so I don't get stumped and have to give away a free copy of my book.
I know. Oh my gosh, Mitch, you're so great. Any more questions, let us know. And Mitch, I kind of want to follow up on that question
Sure.
because for those that are like starting a new business, and I know liability insurance is so important, but when it comes to like trademarks, LLCs, all of that, I know a lot of businesses that they're like, okay, we're going to start, we're going to, do things, and then they wait forever to create an LLC or trademark. What is kind of like a quick little checklist if you are thinking of starting a side hustle or a business that you just need to go through to make sure that you are legally protected?
Well, there are a couple of different steps, but when it comes to intellectual property, which is what you're talking about, copyrights, trademarks, and things like this, if you have a distinct name, logo, image, brand, something like that, definitely contact a lawyer in your state who specializes in IP law to help hold your hand and or to do all the work to get your intellectual property protected. There are companies like Zoom, not Zoom, like what am I thinking of? Rocket Lawyer, and I'm trying to think what the other online company is that does LegalZoom.
Yes.
LegalZoom.com, which can do these kinds of things, you guys, which are great. I'm a big proponent of consumers having easy to access and inexpensive legal services available to them. But, it's garbage in, garbage out. Check the wrong boxes. If you don't if you don't apply and fill out the forms correctly, they're not going to work for you. So you want to make sure that whatever steps you take, you protect your intellectual property using trademarks, using copyright, and things like this. The other thing you want to do is you want to, as soon as you can, either incorporate your business or form a limited liability company so that you're doing business as a business entity and not as an individual. This will protect you from business lawsuits so that your business assets are separate from your personal assets. It will help give you additional expenses that you'll be able to write off when it comes to taxes. It will allow you, by doing business as a corporation, as an LLC, as a business entity, additional employee benefit options, which allow you to take care of your team. It also gives you additional tax deductions. And it's just the smart way to do business, especially if you are looking for venture capital. Venture capitalists are looking at people who are running their new startups the right way. This includes protecting your IP, and it includes doing business as a properly licensed and registered business entity. What's the best entity for you? Once again, it depends on what you're doing. It depends on what state you're in. So check with a qualified attorney in your state. If you need to find a good lawyer in your state, the easiest way to do that is ask a trusted friend, number one. Number two, go to martindale.com, martindale.com. It's an independent service that was around long before the internet, where you can actually drill down by state, county, city, practice area, and ratings. A little insider tip: look for an AV rated lawyer. A is in Andy, V is in Victory. AV rating is the highest rating possible for ability and ethics, pursuant to a confidential survey that's done in the community by other lawyers and judges. So it's an independent rating that you want to look for when drilling down to find a good lawyer to help you with the above. So that's where I would start. And if you have any questions on this stuff, anyone, just DM me on social and I'll follow up with some additional information.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, see, this is amazing, everyone. I hope you understand that getting a consultation like we're getting right now would cost hundreds of dollars from any regular lawyer. And we've got Mitch right here, and this is for free. And we're trying to stump him so he can give you a free copy of the book. So if you have questions, please ask them. And it doesn't have to be a legal question. It can be anything about brand building, storytelling, because literally he knows basically just about everything. I would say so, Mitch. I would give you that. And so I've got another question, Mitch, when it comes to speaker contracts and event planners. So now we're looking toward, the end of 2021 and into 2022, where events are kind of doing hybrid events, where some is in person, some is virtual, and then some are actually trying to do full-blown in-person events. Right. Now, I know many people may be thinking, all right, the pandemic's over, or they have that mindset, we don't have to worry about it anymore. But what should speakers make sure that is included in their contract, like a clause or something, to make sure that they are protected, especially if they reserve a day or a certain amount of time? And what if the event becomes canceled for some reason, if there is an outbreak? And also, what do event planners need to be aware of and think of when they actually start putting on in-person events again, or even virtual events?
That is a great question, Jennifer. It's probably one of the most important questions that I've been asked in a while, especially for our mutual communities. We've done these agreements for some of the top brand ambassadors on the planet, speaking agreements for some very well-known speakers, you guys. The first thing I would focus on is you need to upgrade the force majeure provision of traditional speaking agreements. This is the provision that says in an act of war, terrorist attack, a natural disaster, then the following will happen. For example, if you're a speaker and you're supposed to fly across the country to speak or appear online, it will dictate whether or not you still need to do that or whether the company still needs to hire you to move forward. Now with the virus like COVID-19 and similar related issues, you want to beef up your force majeure provisions to cover everything in the world, so that you have the unilateral decision as a speaker to decide whether or not you want to move forward with your presentation. One of the reasons that's important is that a lot of speakers are gifted from the stage. They interact with the audience. They read the body language. They look at the eyeballs, and they're awesome. Sometimes those same speakers don't have the same digital presence. And by just rolling from the stage online and giving a digital presentation, you might actually be harming your brand. You might not want to do that. It's different for everybody. So by having the appropriate force majeure provision that gives you the unilateral discretion to say, listen, I understand for safety purposes, we can't hold the event, but no, thank you. I am not going to be participating in the new online version. Okay. It just leaves it up to you. If you're like me, I'm going to do both. It doesn't matter to me. But that's one thing I want everyone to look at is talk to your lawyer about improving the force majeure provision. The other thing is you want to make sure your indemnity provision in your speaking contracts has been updated. And what I mean by that is if you're required to travel and attend an event and take the stage, and somebody on your team, maybe it's even you, gets sick because the conference venue didn't take the necessary health and safety precautions to protect, their audience members, to protect everyone backstage, social distancing, masks, and things like that. If there's a claim or a lawsuit and somehow you're brought into it because you're a part of that event, you want to be able to get reimbursed. You want to be indemnified by the event promoter, by the company putting on the event. It's basically a safety clause that says if I'm brought into any litigation, if any claims are brought, you're agreeing ahead of time to reimburse me, to maybe even provide me with legal counsel to make sure I'm not out of pocket if I'm involved in a lawsuit. Indemnification clauses are the standard way of doing business. You're not going to be hurting anybody's feelings by making sure you have this in your speaking agreements. And I think it's something that everyone should absolutely have. So I would suggest indemnification clauses, beef up your force majeure provisions, and you'll be in good shape moving forward. That's what we focused on with our clients over the past year.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You guys, I hope everyone wrote that down. I know many people, a couple in the comments are going to watch the replay. I'm going to watch the replay and write down some of these notes. I have to give a special shout out. We've got Leah Rainey from Virginia as well. Leah, it's such a nice day outside. Hopefully you are watching this outside or you're able to go outside after the fact because I can't believe how beautiful it is. But Leah, I'm so glad you joined us. Thank you. And we've got another Facebook user that said, I'm so happy you have Mitch on today. He must be the nicest lawyer out there. He is. I will have to catch the replay as I have a call starting in 3 minutes, but wanted to say hi. So thank you for popping in.
Yes,
We really appreciate it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so we've got another question here, I think, from Nicole Tate. She said, as far as branding, what is your process for crisis management? I.e., if you have an agency represents a person who gets through some bad publicity on social media, what is your process to handle that type of situation? Great question.
It's a great question, Nicole. So there are 3 different parties in these relationships. We have the brand, okay, right here. We have the social media agency, and we have an influencer, okay, oftentimes. And there are 3 different relationships. The relationship between the brand and the social media agency, or the social media agency and the influencer, assuming you're using influencers, all require different terms and conditions when it comes to the contracts that you're using to document whatever the business relationship is. In all of these contracts, you're going to have a provision that covers this particular topic. What happens if the influencer does something wrong? He, she, they break the law, get arrested, say something they're not supposed to say, go rogue on you. What are the remedies and rights between the social media agency and the brand? What are the requirements of the influencer to step up and do the right thing, apologize, and move forward, right? So to answer your question is crisis management issues can best be resolved before they happen in the first place. And I would suggest, especially when you look at what the FTC talks about with disclosure requirements for influencers, especially when you've got a lot of people out there claiming to be social media agencies and they're not. They don't have the brand and influencer relationships put in place. They don't know what they're doing. You want to make sure that you put into writing exactly how you're going to be handling crisis management. What are the requirements of you and your team, of the person, the actor, the influencer that you're bringing in, and what are the obligations of the brand? Should they step up and help finance a crisis management solution, or is it all on your shoulders as a social media agency? The caveat to this also is see whether or not, when we talked about insurance, whether or not bad press, whether or not liability that might happen when something like this happens, when there's a crisis, is it covered by insurance? Can you bring that in under the terms and conditions of your liability policy? So planning ahead's the best way to do it. If you've planned ahead, you've got everything in writing. Whose job is it to go out in front of the reporters? Whose job is it to create content to fix the problem? You've got all that laid out so there's no misunderstandings. The next step is doing it, right? How can you effectively fix this problem when something goes south on you? And I've always found with my clients, the best way to do this is to just be upfront, to be, strategically transparent and honest, and just if something happened through no fault of your own, own it, wrap your arms around it, let your clients and customers know it's not going to happen again, make the internal adjustments that you need to make to move forward in a positive way, and probably put into play many of the tips and approaches that Jay Baer shares in his great book, Hug Your Haters. I would incorporate those approaches also into the answer to this question.
I love that, Mitch. Thank you so much. And Nicole, just like double high five to you for asking these questions. These are fantastic questions. And so you get bonus points right now, Nicole, for your attempt to stump Mitch. They're very great. And so for anyone else, we've already been talking for more than 30 minutes. And keep in mind, we don't have Mitch for much longer. So if you have a question about that, story building, brand building, all of that, please let us know. Even Clubhouse. We're going to get to Clubhouse in just a little bit as well. So ask your questions. We've got George in the house. George says, hello, Mitch. George, I'm so glad you are able to join us on this beautiful Friday, at least in Virginia. And Nicole, yes, you are so wonderful. So if you have more questions, Nicole, please let us know. Now I'm going to pivot just a little bit, Mitch, because what you've created for yourself and your brand on social media through storytelling and just networking is really amazing. And you also help coach other legal entities, businesses, and entrepreneurs on how to tell their story and build their brand. I would love for you to just share your top tips for brand building and storytelling to really help your business grow and people see the real you, not just trying to be someone else, but just, find your tribe and your community.
Well, I think one of the things that one of the advantages I had growing up and becoming a lawyer is I was a first generation college graduate from my immediate family, certainly the first person to go to law school. So I didn't come into this profession, with an understanding of what was really expected from lawyers. And so I kind of did it my own way. What I learned after 5 or 6 years is if I continued to try to do things like all the other lawyers in town, I would never stand out above all the noise. It was hard for me to compete against these big firms. And so back then I was riding and racing motocross a couple of times a week. And I eventually reached out to 10 other riders in Orange County, California, 8 lawyers, 2 judges, and we'd go down to the tracks on Wednesday and ride and race. And what I realized is that's what everybody started talking about, this group of lawyers that are racing motocross. And, like I said, I'm a slow learner, but I realized, okay, doing something different in a positive and fun way actually will help you stand out. And what I also learned is it helps you get referrals and bring in business. So taking those days back at the track, before the internet, before social media, fast forward to today, online, sharing who you are, sharing your interests, your passions. As a lawyer, that's kind of unusual. There aren't a lot of lawyers doing that. And so it's not hard, it's not difficult, but once you give yourself permission to do this, it's kind of fun. And you start connecting with really cool people like Jennifer. Like when I was over in Paris, I strolled across from the Louvre and knocked on Agorapulse's door and met Emmerich and his team. And that's, to me, what life's all about, is meeting really cool people who enjoy building businesses and enjoy helping others and making the world a better place. So I wrap my arms around social media with that type of mindset. What I want to do is I want to try to be a go-giver, like what Bob Berg would say, and try to just add value to the community. When I was growing up, I wasn't around lawyers. I remember the first time I met my dad's lawyer. My grandfather passed away. I had to go in and do something with his probate. And I remember my voice was shaking and I was sweating and I was nervous. I was probably 18, 19 years old. And I just remember how uncomfortable I was walking into this beautiful lawyer's office. And I told myself, after I graduated from law school and started practicing, I was never going to be like that. I want to make it very comfortable, a friction-free experience with my clients. So I'll meet clients in this shirt, like this, dressed like this. I won't go to court like this. But by taking this approach to social media, Jennifer, it's allowed me to really build out this brand to help more people. Instead of 1-to-1 across from my desk, now it's 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000 when it comes to social media content being distributed around the world. I'd love to see more professionals do this. I happen to know lawyers add value. They make the community a better place. They make society a better place. And I love lawyers. I met Lisa in law school. She's a lawyer. We're married. We're partners together. My daughter's a second-year lawyer at Shepherd Mullen up in Century City. So I'm a big fan of lawyers because they're really cool, nice people. And I think if more lawyers embrace social like we're talking about, they'll be as excited about the upside potential of these platforms as I am, and they'll get to meet wonderful people just like you.
Well, and I love how you said that, Mitch, and I'm so glad you got to see the Paris office as well, because not many people get to do that. I've only done that once, because if you don't know this, Agorapulse is actually based in Paris, and so we have one office there. But I just love everything that you're saying, because even, lawyers, the intimidation is there, but you help humanize all lawyers. We're just like, wow. And like who you are on camera, Mitch, is who you see in person. Like,
yeah.
You are what you are, like right here. And it's amazing. And I just love how you've helped other lawyers do the same thing. And you started that trend. So I want to thank you first off for all of that. And,
thank you for the kind words.
Yes, lawyers can be very intimidating. And we've got Dave in the house. Oh my gosh, Dave, how are you doing? If you are looking for any kind of live camera gear at all whatsoever, go to iographer.com right now. iographer.com. You will find everything you want. My lights are iographer right now. The green screen behind me is iographer, everything. So Dave, thank you for joining us, because I love Dave. Dave is amazing.
Ooh, Dave, DM me if you would, please, with your information, because I have lawyers from around the world asking me for this type of equipment. Like, how do I get set up? I'd love to, build a relationship. Can I just jump in real quick about using social, Jennifer?
Yes.
Because before we forget, in case we run out of time, listen, here's the thing. It's more than just jumping on and going live. It's more than just creating content, right? What I do see is a lot of professionals using social the wrong way. And so I just wanted to point out, you guys, it's not a matter of learning how to use StreamYard. It's a matter of learning how to use your hands, looking at the webcam, using a green screen. If you're where I am right now, you don't want to see the boxes behind me. We're getting ready for a big virtual hearing. And creating content, that is a combination of emotional in an appropriate way, depending on the topic. Emotions, you guys, are what attracts people and will build your tribe, build your community on social media. You want to make it entertaining if you can, depending on what the topic is. You want to create content that's unique. It's unique to who you are, and you want to create content that's memorable. In his book, Talk Like TED, Carmine Gallo broke this down into how you want to create content and make an impact. Whether it's the 18-minute TED Talk, whether or not it's using your body language to make a point, right? 1, 2, 3, just be animated. These little things add up as you're creating content. And so create content the right way get Carmine's book, Talk Like Ted, for example, and incorporate those approaches into the social media content that you create. And then when you use Agorapulse to distribute it across the internet, you'll be saving yourself time. You'll be tapping into the attention of your audience in all the different time zones. And I think that's kind of the magic formula that's worked for me. And I just wanted to highlight that because I have friends that will jump on and do a couple of tweets or a Facebook post or an Instagram post, and all they get are digital crickets. And what I try to tell them is, well, you know, you need to do something different. You need to be consistent. You know, make it engaging. You know, one of the tricks that we use in court, everyone, is we use metaphors when trying to make a point. And the reason we use metaphors is because when that jury leaves our presence and goes back into the jury deliberation room, we need to give them talking points. We need that jury foreman to say, you know, Mitch said, and then whatever the metaphor was, because they're easy to remember. They're easy to repeat. Doing the same thing on social media, I think, is key. Use metaphors, use stories. But don't just tell stories. Learn how to tell a story that empowers your audience to take that next desired action. That's key. A story in and of itself is simply entertaining. A story that empowers your audience, your viewer, your listener, someone that's reading your blog post to take that next step, gives them permission to take that next step. That's key. When you learn to do that on social media, the world is your oyster. So I just wanted to get that in before we went too much further.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, I'm so glad you said that, because I think everyone needed to hear that as well. It's not just about posting to post. It's about posting true, meaningful content. Everyone has a short story to share and tell. So tell your own personal story. And that way you'll find your tribe. You'll spark that emotion. You'll connect with the people that are truly, you know, want to support you and follow you on your journey. And you are an influencer to all of your friends and family. You know, everybody is an influencer in their own right. So be true to yourself. And I love that, helping people take action, because like you said, telling a story is, you know, entertaining, but you want to inspire action. So, oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
gold. So much gold in there. Mitch, thank you so much. That is pure fire. That's what Justin just said. Pure fire. So much. Deb Mitchell just shared the link to the book that you were just talking about, Talk Like Ted. Justin Hornbeck also said Communications 101. So true. Dave, yes. Dave is amazing. So what I'm going to do is an email introduction between you both, because Dave is, oh my God, everything he creates and invents is absolutely wonderful. That's all that Brian and I use as iographer. So Dave, I'm so glad you popped on. And we've got questions piling up here too. So I'm so glad about this. First of all, keeping with the social media theme, George is asking, what's the best social media platform to connect with you, and what's your platform?
So this question is good because, George, the last question we ask clients after we've been retained, whether now it's on Zoom, is how would you like us to communicate with you? And then we stop talking and start listening. If a client wants us to communicate by text, by Instagram DMs, by snail mail, by phone, that's what we try to do, subject to state bar rules. On social media, we've made a point to be on all the platforms. I want to have my welcome mat on different platforms. There are some platforms I'm not comfortable with being on. For example, TikTok. We don't need more old white guys on TikTok, right? I get it. I've got a pretty good base going on TikTok, but it's just not really my thing. I don't sing and dance and everything else. But we're there because people will find us on TikTok and then they come back over too. And the answer to your question is just go to streaming.lawyer. That's not my law firm site. It's my blog where I share social media content and things like this. I'll repurpose this show over on the blog. But streaming.lawyer is the best place to catch me and to connect and keep the conversation going. You know, we also had a question about Clubhouse, about recording. Do you mind if I just dive into that real quick?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You've got it up here. I love that. So the question is, you know, Clubhouse is not supposed to be recorded. You know, what are the options? What do you do when you see that happen? And, you know, check out the terms of service agreement with Clubhouse. There's a terms of service agreement. There's a privacy agreement. And there's one other agreement. I don't remember what they call it, but there are three basic agreements with Clubhouse. And the TOS agreement, at least the last time I looked at it a week ago, said, as long as you have permission from everyone on stage that you're recording, then they're okay with that, okay? The challenge is, what does that mean? Do you need a written document acknowledging that you've got permission? Are you using DocuSign to do that? I think that would be a good practice if you feel the need to record something, get everybody's DocuSign signature on a one-page release. But with Clubhouse, the way it works is people are coming up on stage for Q&A. And if they're on stage and they raise their hand and unmute and participate in the conversation, did you get their permission to record them? And so, I think one of the beautiful things about Clubhouse is real-time conversations. There's a FOMO factor where if you're not there, fear of missing out, where if you're not there, you're going to miss out on the room and the conversation and that relationship. So I'm not recording rooms on Clubhouse. I haven't even worried about it, just going live and having fun on the platform. But do check out the TOS, Terms of Service Agreement, because it does provide exactly what you can and can't do on the Clubhouse platform.
I love that. And that was another great question, Nicole. That was almost a stumper, but not quite there. But you're doing good. I'm just kidding. Mitch, you knew that. But Nicole, these questions are pure gold. And that's a question I think that I had and many others had because, they're not recorded, but people are recording them in other ways. So what is the liability with that? And let's dive a little bit more in quickly to Clubhouse. Before, Keith, I see your question, and I'm going to ask that next after this because I want to keep the Clubhouse theme going. But you've been so avid and a big communicator on Clubhouse. You had an 8-hour or more kind of marathon on Clubhouse 2 weeks ago, which was absolutely epic. So I would love to know kind of your strategy behind Clubhouse and how you found value that maybe other entrepreneurs, business owners, or even brands could kind of follow in your footsteps or see what you've been doing and finding success in.
I'm going to answer that question, but Brian Kramer asked, where were you on July 22nd, 1978 at 2:42 p.m., Mitch? I don't know, Brian. I'm afraid that maybe we were in the same bar or restaurant back then. Those are my college days. I managed to squeeze a 4-year degree into a 5-year experience at the University of Arizona, and I would do it again in a second. So with Clubhouse, what I'm doing is I'm actually enjoying all of the different rooms, primarily that aren't legal related, venture capital, entertainment, studio agents, technology, the health and sciences. And what I find is when I'm in these rooms and I'm participating in the conversations, oftentimes I'm the only lawyer in the room. And so I'm able to enjoy listening to the topic because that's of interest to me. But also what's been happening is when somebody has a legal question or they want a document reviewed, I'll get that direct message on either Instagram or Twitter, because at the bottom of our Clubhouse profiles, everyone, you can link your Twitter and Instagram accounts. So make sure you're doing that. Complete your profile so that people know who you are and what you do. And so it's allowed me to build some really amazing relationships, Jennifer, with people that I haven't touched base with before on the normal social media platforms. And in a way, in a genuine way, there's something magical about this audio only interaction in a way that's very personable. It's very personal, and it just works, right? So the challenge with Clubhouse is it can be a time suck. There's a lot of interesting content. There's a lot of noise on Clubhouse recently over the last couple of weeks. I kind of avoid the get rich quick rooms and all the different knuckleheads that are out there that a lot of us know about. But what I do try to focus on are diving into conversations that are of interest to me. Lately, it's been about negotiation and mediation. And Wednesday, Equal Pay Day, on Wednesday, I participated in a room with a lot of physicians that were talking about the entire equal pay issue. Whether you're applying for a job, whether you're getting paid the same rate as your male counterpart. And it was a fascinating conversation about legislation, about the laws, also about different negotiation techniques that the physicians can use when they either accept a job or they walk in for a pay raise or for a new position. And so I like using Clubhouse for all of these reasons. Most of the questions I'm seeing are things that we've dealt with 100 times before, so I'm able to easily answer questions that come up in a room. But I'm also getting a lot of value. There's some amazing, brilliant people on that platform who, because just like me with COVID-19, we're not trying cases right now in Southern California. And I do have some spare time. And when I have spare time, I'm proactive. I'm building out the brand. I'm doing a lot of running. I'm spending as much time as I can with the family, right? It's this full person type of, game plan here. But when my spare time is spent on Clubhouse, I'm enjoying connecting with some really cool people. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've managed to bring in about 4,000 new connections in my community, which to me is just fantastic.
Wow.
And it's just been really, really a lot of fun. So the 8-hour marathon you're talking about is back in the days of Periscope, everyone. There was an all-day Periscope event where each of us jumped on for 15 or 30 minutes and kind of passed the scope as the sun was setting across the country. And so what I thought I'd do is I just went on Clubhouse and I had friends jump in. Jennifer was one of those, along with Brian. And I had 2 friends joining me for every 30 minutes. And so from 9 in the morning on the East Coast till 5 in the afternoon on the East Coast, we basically had a continuous conversation with 30 plus different guests. We had hundreds and hundreds of people come up on the stage and get to meet and interact and ask questions. And so at the end of the day, it was just one of those days where at the end of the day, with the help of a nice glass of cab, I felt like this was really cool. It was cool meeting so many new people and seeing so many familiar faces that you and I both know that I haven't chatted with a long time. Well, guess what? They showed up for that Clubhouse event. So it was a lot of fun.
That was an amazing experience, Mitch. And that was not easy to do. Hosting for more than 8 hours, that was a lot. And you did it flawlessly. You
piece of cake.
Yeah, you did such an amazing job. Oh my gosh. And really quick to Brian, because Brian,
I see that. Okay.
Because so when you first asked that question, Brian, I'm like, oh no,
wait,
should I actually
Jennifer, before you say anything. So here's the thing, Brian. So put up Brian's response.
Oh, yes.
Because for some reason, I think Brian feels like I was answering his question, and I wasn't. I was asking for clarification to Brian's question. Brian is saying, so I was pretty sure I just stumped Mitch, just saying. No, Brian, what you did is you clarified my question. So back on July 22nd, 1978 at 2:42 in the afternoon, I was standing on top of a mountain overlooking Tucson with my Dragonfly Mark IIB hang glider on my back, ready for a late afternoon thermal flight. And thanks for bringing that back into my memory. It was a good time, Brian. So I appreciate you reminding me about that.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Brian was an author to the book. He contributed a chapter to the book.
Oh my God, I love that so much. You guys are the best, by the way. And Brian, thank you so much for being here and supporting and all of that. We have time for one more question because we are 8 minutes away from the top of the hour and Mitch has given us so much time. So this is the last question and this is a great one. So Keith said, so as an attorney, what type of organizations do you partner with, if you do, locally to show you care for community and empathy as a brand? We typically encourage partnering with school districts as an example, as they are multi-generational. Also county and cities for public safety. What other opportunities do you see there?
So all of the above, but I'm a 4th generation Rotarian. We started our Rotary Club down here in Southern California in 1988, and my wife and I are both past presidents of our Rotary Club. I'm a past district governor for Interact, overseeing 50 plus clubs, and our kids are both Paul Harris Fellows. So for us, it has been Rotary has been our primary connection with the community, which then taps into schools, special needs, homeless, the Boys and Girls Club, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. The San Juan Capistrano Boys and Girls Club is run by my dear friend, James Littlejohn. So for us, it's been through Rotary. But outside of Rotary, something that's very dear to my heart is helping raise awareness as to the dangers of distracted driving. There's an attorney, his name's Joel Feldman, and his 21-year-old daughter, Casey, was tragically killed while crossing a crosswalk when she was hit by a distracted driver. And it obviously turned Joel and his wife's and family's life upside down. But what he's been doing ever since is traveling around the country, raising awareness as to the dangers of distracted driving. And when I heard this story and read about it in one of my legal magazines years ago, it just hit me. It hit me like, okay, my kids are going to be driving someday. This is my biggest fear as a parent because I know how many accidents are out there each and every day, especially here in California. And so we've dived all in on that cause. And I just like to let everyone know April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. This is a great month coming up to help share the word. If you're looking for resources to share, if you're looking for content, go to Joel's site. It's enddd.org or go to itcanwait.com. There are great videos. There are resources. If you go over to streaming.lawyer and type in distracted driving in the search bar, you'll find a post from just several days ago where I referenced distracted driving as it applies to the Clubhouse platform, because we see a lot of people doing that, trying to moderate rooms when they're on stage and while they're driving, and it's not safe to do so. And I encourage everyone to please help spread the word. Let's save lives. Let's avoid people experiencing tragedy, and let's turn our phones off before we turn our cars on.
I love that, Mitch, so much. And thank you for saying that, because that's something that as we get more social platforms and everything else, we all feel the FOMO. We have to be on it all the time.
It's hard. It's hard, isn't it? It is. Even for me, it's hard. It is.
Yeah, but you just got to do it. And I'm one of those people that I can't do it. You know, I have to be driving. I have to do it. So I love that so much. Keith says, thank you for giving that advice. Deb Mitchell just shared the website as well, ndd.org. So Deb, thank you so much for that. Brian is a fellow Rotarian, and also he said, come on, really, to remembering that specific date and time. So I
have an amazing memory. I can't, what, am I supposed to apologize for my memory?
Oh my God. I love this. I wish actually we were in an in-person event right now, so we would go to like out to dinner and just continue this conversation. Brian, I'm so glad you're able to join us. Mitch, I'm so glad you're here as well. Nicole, I see your question, but we are going to save it for a Clubhouse. We're going to do a future Clubhouse either next week or the week after. We're going to try and do one right after this live show, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to, but we hope you join that. We're going to continue this conversation. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But before we do anything else, it is trivia time. And so, yes, it's one of my favorite times of the show. And actually, I'm going to pull your comment off there, Nicole, really quick. And so you can actually put a guess in for this, but this is to win an Agora Pulse t-shirt or mug. You have to answer both questions correctly. If there are two people that did that, we will have a tiebreaker as well. And I let people know 24 hours after we ask these questions to allow people who are watching the replay to be able to play as well. But these are some fun questions that I want to ask. There's two of them. When you answer 1-A, B, C, or D, and 2-A, B, C, or D. So we know which one you are answering the question to. And I'm excited with so many people here to see how many people get these correct or not. According to Data Reportal, how many social media users are there worldwide in 2021? According to Data Reportal, how many social media users are there worldwide in 2021? Is it 1.5, 2.2 billion, 3.5 billion, or 4.2 billion? Mitch, do you have, a guess for this?
Complete guess would be C, 3.5.
It's a great guess, Mitch. I'm not going to try and I tend to give the answers away, so I try not to. But we've got Justin Hornback thinks it's 2.2 million. Great guess. Keith says D, 4.2 million. Actually, no, he says no way A. Yes, agree. We have someone else that says D as well. These are great guesses, guys. I'll leave this up for about 15 more seconds, and we'll go to our second questions. I love this. Brian Kramer, and don't Google. Mitch and I can see your computer screen right now. We know what's going on, so do not Google this. He's a lawyer, guys. Be careful. We have a lawyer on the show. Don't do anything.
I'm going to go with Brian, though. I would not doubt him. He's a social media guy, right?
Yes, he is. He is. So yes, Brian.
Anybody that's got cryptocurrency named after them, they probably know what they're talking about.
Mitch, we need to get you a coin. We need to make that happen. We'll work on that. Because Brian, that's a side conversation we need to have. Second question, according to Data Reportal, an average person has an account on how many social media networks? So basically, how many accounts or social media networks are people on? Is it A3, B5, C7, D9? Keep in mind the average person. I know a lot of us on here have accounts everywhere, but just think about family members, your parents, everyone kind of averaged out together. What do you think for this question, Mitch?
Well, I'm going to go with Nicole. I'm going to say B, 5.
That's a great guess. Banzo is greater, all powerful. Oh my God, Dave. I love you so much. Brian says 3. Okay, Brian, that's a good guess as well. I'm going to say everyone's a good guess because otherwise I'm going to give away the answer. Justin Hornback says B, 5. 5 is a great guess as well. Brad Friedman said B. You guys are all on the B train. I like it. I love it. I'm not going to give you the answers because guess what? I'm going to give an opportunity for others who watch the replay to guess. With that said,
will you tell me when we go off the air?
I will tell you when we go off the air. I will tell you. Yeah, Mitch gets to know. Everyone else doesn't. I'm sorry, guys. But I just have to say thank you so much first of all, for all of you joining us here, making this such a fun conversation, all the great questions, trying to stump Mitch, which we didn't. I didn't think we were, but we will continue this conversation in a couple weeks in Clubhouse. I'll have more information on that. But
Yeah.
Mitch, I just have to say thank you for sharing your legal mind, your brilliance, just everything. Anything you say is pure gold, literally. So
Wow.
it's absolutely fantastic. Where, again, can people find you, follow you, all the amazing things?
Jennifer, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for joining us and with your questions. If anyone has any follow-up questions, just jump over to streaming.lawyer and use the contact tab or DM me on social media, and I'll follow up with any answers that you may have on any of the topics that we talked about or topics that you wished we would have talked about but didn't have time to. I'm always here for the community. I think that's what it's all about. So thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mitch, thank you so much. And for those of you that don't know already, we had a complete redesign of Agora Pulse. So definitely check that out. We're kind of very proud of it. We have our 4 fun new characters as well. You'll see kind of jumping and flying around. And you can also grab a free trial of Agora Pulse. But you know what's even better? We also have a free plan of Agora Pulse, a freemium version that you can use for absolutely free. So you can try out all the different things that we have and then also use our free version as well, which has some limitations on it, but it also has the beauty and magic of Agora Pulse in itself. So definitely check us out. Just go to agorapulse.com. With that said, for Mitch and everyone else, I want to say have an amazing rest of your Friday. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you back here actually on Monday. We have an extra special live at 1:30 Eastern on Monday. But cheers, everyone. Make it a great day.